From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
It's cold and flu season, but another virus is also back.
My daughter works at the hospital and tested me and said, "You're very positive."
COVID-19 is back in a big way in Yellowstone County.
The public health professionals are anticipating, that this will continue.
With some federal workers now required to once again mask up. Good morning and welcome to Montana This Morning on this Wednesday, December 6th. I'm Augusta McDonald. COVID-19 isn't just back, it's surging here in Yellowstone County with hospitalizations up 30% in the last week. In response, employees with the TSA, the Department of the Interior, and the Social Security office here in Billings are again required to cover their faces, Billings being one of the few hotspots right now in the country. Employees at the BLM and federal courthouse telling us they do expect to have to mask up next. Local health leaders say the vaccine is still the best way to protect yourself as the virus is expected to spread.
Get vaccinated. The vaccines have shown some really good efficacy. It's not necessarily will prevent you get the illness, but it will make the illness mild. We have been seeing this steady creep over the past several, probably 2 to 3 months. It's a good chance that the diseases are circulating in the community.
43 people are currently in the hospital fighting off COVID-19 in Yellowstone County. The Billings Police Department is asking for help finding a missing teenager. This is a photo of 14-year-old Matthew Toth. He was last seen on Sunday, December 3rd. Matthew is 5'8". He's Native American with brown hair and brown eyes. If you have any information, contact the Billings Police Department at 657-8200. Now let's get a quick check of the weather here with Miller. Good morning.
Morning.
It's very warm this week.
It is. And, it's a warm start
Windy.
This morning. Yeah, about 30 degrees milder than normal. Waking up this morning, some of us in the 50s. Very windy. Gusts 60 miles an hour still possible along the western foothills. Going to keep those temperatures up today. But we do have some changes in the forecast, though, moving forward. Let's take a step back in time. Our high yesterday of 61, 20 plus degrees above the norm. We're going to try to do it again today. Our overnight low down to about 39. It's even warmer this morning in the low 50s for some. Top gusts near 40 yesterday at the airport. May not be as windy today here in Billings. Still have gusts 20, 25 miles an hour possible. It's been a very dry start to the month, so we're in the hole. For the year, we're still pacing ahead, of course, but look at those snow totals. 6 inches in the hole for the season so far. Now, we do have some snow in the forecast moving forward, mainly in the mountains. We could see some here in the lower elevations Thursday, Friday, and maybe as we get into the latter part of the weekend, first part of next week. But I don't think we're going to see much of any accumulation. That could change, but definitely something we'll keep an eye on. 52 right now at the airport. Winds out of the southwest at 15 miles an hour. We're mainly in the 40s and 50s as we get up this morning. And there you go. Livingston just had a gust up to 51. And we do have that wind advisory that was supposed to go away this morning. I mentioned yesterday during the show, though. I wouldn't be surprised if they extended it. That's what they've done. They've got it all the way through tomorrow morning with a gust up to 60 miles an hour along the foothills. We'll ease up a bit today. Still going to be quite windy. And then that pressure gradient tightens up again tonight through tomorrow morning. A lot of stuff to talk about with this weather. Cold front coming through is going to change things up. We'll talk about that coming up here in just a bit.
All right, Miller, thank you so much.
Okay.
Governor Greg Gianforte announced on Tuesday a new task force to look for potential solutions to rising property taxes in Montana. In the announcement, the governor said this group will follow a similar model to the state housing task force started last year. The governor will appoint members next month. This comes after lots of homeowners across the state of Montana received historically high property tax bills this fall that were expected before the 2023 legislative session. He says the task force will look at ideas including reforming the appraisal system, increasing participation in mill levy elections, and cutting down local spending. According to the governor, the task force will deliver a plan in time for lawmakers to consider it during the 2025 legislative session. He said a month ago on our show, lawmakers during the 2023 legislative session in the GOP supermajority controlled legislature did not bring a plan to his desk that could have prevented these increases. And in national headlines, new this morning, the head of the FBI is warning that the U.S. is facing an unprecedented level of terror threats amid the Israel-Hamas war. An intelligence report says the most likely primary targets could include churches, synagogues, and members of the Jewish community. CBS's Naomi Rockham has the latest.
Groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS will likely use the Israel-Hamas war to increase calls for violence in the U.S. this holiday season. That's according to a new joint bulletin from the Departments of Justice and Homeland Security.
All the lights were blinking red before 9/11. Would you say that there's multiple blinking red lights out there?
I see blinking lights everywhere I turn.
FBI Director Christopher Wray warned senators on Capitol Hill Tuesday that terrorists may try to exploit the U.S. southern border and says the Bureau is working to identify and disrupt potential attacks.
I've never seen a time where all the threats, or so many of the threats, are all elevated, all at exactly the same time.
Last week, the FBI and Nevada authorities arrested a 16-year-old who allegedly threatened to attack Las Vegas in the name of ISIS.
We charged the suspect with multiple felonies to include terroristic threats.
Wray also pressed senators to reauthorize a program that allows the U.S. government to collect, without a warrant, the communications of targeted foreigners outside the U.S. But lawmakers on both sides have criticized the program, following revelations that FBI analysts improperly searched the database for information about people tied to the January 6th Capitol riot and racial justice protests in 2020.
We have absolutely no reason to trust you because you haven't behaved in a manner that's trustworthy.
The program is set to expire at the end of the year. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
The surveillance program can also capture communications of American citizens and others in the U.S. when they're in contact with targeted foreigners. Meanwhile, the U.S. has pledged an additional $21 million in humanitarian aid for Gaza, in part to help establish a field hospital. 8 Americans remain among the more than 130 hostages still being held by Hamas. Israeli troops have entered Gaza's second largest city, with forces saying they are now in the heart of Khan Yunis in the south to destroy Hamas targets. Hundreds of thousands of people have been told to evacuate, with warnings of widespread house-to-house combat in the days ahead. Tonight, when 4 Republican presidential candidates take the stage for the latest GOP primary debate, questions about health care are expected to come their way. It's been a back burner issue during the race up to this point, but as reporter Stephanie Liebergen explains, Republican frontrunner Donald Trump recently thrust the Obamacare discussion back into the spotlight.
Even though he hasn't participated in any of the debates, former President Donald Trump still has a commanding lead in the Republican presidential race. And his comments and social media posts can quickly impact the issues at the forefront of the campaign. Along with the economy, abortion, and foreign affairs, the quality and cost of your health care could be a major issue in the race for the White House. Former President Donald Trump recently reiterated his desire to overturn Obamacare, formerly known as the Affordable Care Act, in a social media post. He said he was seriously looking at alternatives and Republicans should never give up. Trump's comment drew quick reaction from Democrats. The Democratic National Committee rolled out a new political ad stressing the positive impact of the healthcare law, with one provider saying, "We can't go back." And the Biden campaign had supporters warn about the negative impact a repeal would have.
Donald Trump is really good at reading the room full of conspiracy theorists, but he's not good at reading the room full of Americans who need health care. Medicaid expansion, the Affordable Care Act, has provided health insurance for millions of Americans.
Polling shows voters want to hear their presidential candidates talk about health care. A recent survey from KFF, taken before Trump's social media post, found a vast majority said it's very important for candidates to talk about health care, Medicaid, Medicare, and mental health. Trump tried to overturn the ACA during his first administration, but Senator John McCain's now infamous thumbs down blocked that effort. Now, the former president's push to never give up has encouraged other Republican candidates to increase their talk of health care, setting it up to be a key issue through the primary and into the general election for 2024. Stephanie Liebergen, Scripps News, Washington.
Stephanie, thank you. And now a little bit closer to home, Laurel will be a little less festive this holiday season, as the city will not be decorating light poles downtown. We're told there are 2 issues keeping the chamber from putting up their classic snowflakes this December. First, leaders are concerned the light poles can't handle the weight of these decorations. One pole fell on a vehicle this summer, and there's fear all of them might need to be fixed. That brings us to issue number 2. The city ordered lighter decorations in March, but they never arrived.
We don't want to put something up old and then we're in trouble and somebody gets hurt. Something falls on somebody. Goodwill, supporting our local businesses here. That's a lot more important than lights.
Downtown businesses are doing some of their own decorating to chip in with holiday cheer. The chamber won't share their decoration plans for next year at this time. And Billings business owners want Washington Grizzly Stadium packed for UM's playoff football game Friday night. A group of them are coming together to give away 50 tickets. The idea was started by Adorn owner and Grizz season ticket holder Kelsey Meyer. A work conflict won't allow her to travel to the game, so she took to social media offering to donate her seats while calling on other businesses to do the same.
Washington Grizzly is one of the coolest atmospheres you can be at, and so I just want as many people to experience that.
My heart's there, of course, watching the players and supporting them. Just the more people we can get in there and the louder it gets, we just want to continue to do that.
The Grizz game kicks off at 7 p.m. on Friday.